Hi, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of our homebrew Call of Cthulhu campaign, which has newly been named Under the Surface. I am joined today by Steve and John and Hannah, and we are going to jump back in where we left off. Hannah, give us a bit of a recap of last week, please.
So these two went to Cairo where they met moi, Kara, Stantham, and they went down to the underground laboratory where they found an urn that had been in quarantine for the past 2 weeks that they had recovered from Nafrin. And through research, they found out that it was an urn depicting a Pepnar, and that there was a Pepnar cult that was very similar to one of the companies from Nafrin.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Cool. And then they had the brilliant idea to open this thing, and
Always pans out well.
oh yeah. And the red mist spread everywhere, spared us three, but then went to every single other person in there. So this is gonna be fun.
I agree that it's going to be fun. So, Nate, you are laying on the floor holding a scope that you were looking under the door with. This red mist has kind of like blown past your face and has attached itself to the heads and faces of all these lab techs. You watch as they begin to twitch and convulse and collapse. And this red mist begins to seep into the spaces between their eyelids and their nostrils and their ears and their mouth. And it's just funneling and funneling like more than you really think a skull should be able to handle. And they begin to collapse on the floor. And these loud thuds of trays knocking over and chairs being pushed out the way. And you sit there and you're unable to do anything. It's mist. We can't fight mist. Go ahead and make me a sanity check. And tell me what you get, and we'll decide kind of how you react to approximately 10 people being attacked by ethereal mist.
I rolled a critical success, a 1.
Very good.
Under my 66 sanity. So I think, having watched with the little camera scope as this thing got opened and kind of seeing through the camera this mist come out, feeling it try to affect me in some way, but I was able to fight it off. I think I'm too relieved to be scared or abhorrent at what just happened to them. I think my gut feeling is, wasn't me.
Yeah. And as you sit there and you're kind of having these heaving breaths of it wasn't me, it was not me, you see as this red mist begins to sort of reform back into the tunnel shape it was, as it begins to retract from the faces of these people. And you watch as this mist tunnels and shoots straight for the elevator shaft and funnels in this whooshing loud sound straight up the elevator shaft. And then there's a moment of pure silence as we head back into the room to talk to Bernard and Kara. So Bernard and Kara, you had the mist come full force at your face. Bernard, you watched as it happened, correct? It didn't come at your face. Okay. So, Bernard, you watch as this mist kind of rolls over her face in these very tight, rolling kind of wave pattern. But you can definitely see behind it as it's pushing against parts of her face. You can see her face kind of press in places where it's applying pressure to her. Go ahead and make me a sanity check as you watch this happen and you watch the red mist begin to funnel out of the room and into the next.
15 against a 56.
Okay, so tell me how your character's handling that. They've succeeded in the sanity check. What's getting them through this moment?
He is immediately of the mindset that I knew we should have done more research before we opened this thing. We didn't know what we had on our hands. We have completely fudged this up, and now we have to double down and focus and figure out how to fix this before it turns into something super bad.
Yeah. You're a man who can acknowledge the mistakes made but does not dwell on them, and it's more of a, well, now we have the problem. We need to move on and fix the problem. Yeah?
Pretty much, yeah.
All right. So, Kara. There's a moment just before the mist hits your face that everything is fine. And then you feel it before you really even acknowledge that it's there. You feel it on the back of your neck and sweeping up behind your ear and wrapping around, almost cold, but so cold it's hot, like it's burning, as it wraps around to your ear, and then you feel it come across the side of your face and into your eyes. And there's this moment where this intense cold heat is pressing against your very consciousness. You can feel it on your skin, you can feel it behind your eyes, you can feel it in your ear canals, but it feels as though what you are as a person is beginning to burn. But you have this moment where you think very deeply about something really important to you. What is it that you think of?
I am thinking back to my home estate where I grew up with my parents, and in my father's study where he is showing me all these different artifacts that he's found, and one of them is a coin from Peru, so an ancient Mayan Incan coin, and just that moment of him sharing his passion in life and having that moment, father and daughter.
And as you think of this, your brain almost conjures up this coin. It's almost tangible, kind of spinning in your mind and reviewing all the facets and the edges and that little piece on the side that was slightly chipped, but it kind of just gave it character. And you think to yourself, my love of knowledge that my father's given me has got me this far, and it's got to get me further. And so you push as hard as you can with every bit of emotion and memory and knowledge that you have against whatever is eating away at who you are. And you feel that burning sensation begin to kind of recede down and back out. But I need you to make me a sanity check.
Success 20/55.
Okay. You still take 2 points of sanity damage. But you see this red mist begin to pull away from you, and you look up at the face of Bernard, who is staring at you and trying to figure out what's going on. And you can see this moment of him looking at you like, we fucked up. Like, we were not supposed to do this. What are we going to do? And then everything gets a little blurry and a little spinny. Bernard, you see Kara just pop, face first to the ground as she hits her head pretty hard on what is a solid concrete floor. You're going to take 1 point of physical damage for that. Okay. Ooh, pull my whole headset off my head here.
Did I hear a faint noise from
you
the other
heard
room?
no, more than a faint noise.
A faint noise?
You heard a loud crack as something hits the floor. But it is dwarfed by what you're seeing in front of you, which are the smoldering remains of 10 or so lab techs. And the floor is yours, gentlemen. Kara, you're going to be out for a few minutes, okay?
Okay.
So at this moment, I'm a little torn, right? I saw that mist basically form into this tubular shape and shoot up the elevator shaft. So what I wanted to do was run to the elevator, open up the gates, and kind of look up to just instinct. Where's it going? But as I start to do that, I hear the huge thump there. So I think I'm going to turn and just start spin in the wheel, whatever it takes to open this door to get in there. And I'm probably noticing peripherally the bodies without investigating them closely. I think I'm assuming they're all dead based on what I've seen.
So without stopping to investigate, just make me a spot hidden to see what you can derive in a quick glance around your room as you make that pivot back.
It's a hard success.
Undeniably. They're all dead. Anyone who's not, you would gladly put out of the misery, because the faces that you can see are... The skin on the outside's not burned, but there are no more eyeballs. They have been singed out of the head. The sockets of the eyes are scoured with burns. The inner ears are bleeding, and there's all this scarred, bubbly tissue coming out. The mouths are still smoking, where you can see that the gums have begun to shrivel from the immense amount of heat that has been poured into, effectively, their cranial cavity. So anybody that you would notice to have some signs of life, your probably immediate reaction would be to put them down. But no.
Yeah.
No signs of life.
I'm going to figure everybody is done for, and based on that, I don't think I want to take a closer look right now. I'm mostly concerned with making sure, given the thump I just heard, that my companions aren't in a similar state. So I'm opening the door.
While he's doing that, I'm going to go to where Kara is and start trying to administer first aid.
Okay.
Because she obviously just took a hard hit.
Yeah. So make me a first aid roll. Or medicine. Your choice.
I'll do first aid, and I rolled a 69 against my 58 first aid, so that's a big fail.
Okay. Nice. So this is what you do gather. She has suffered a head wound. You're not able to tell if she has a concussion or any kind of internal trauma. The exterior kind of laceration on her scalp is superficial. You don't think it needs immediate stitches or anything like that. So you can apply basic pressure. I feel like anybody would know, bleeding head wound, apply pressure. But as far as her otherwise internal state of well-being, you are not sure at this point.
Is there anything from the inside I need to do to help him open the door?
No, the door has like a dual latch system that is kind of counterpoints, and so when you grab the top and slide the bottom, it kind of releases that top latch, and he's able to enter on his own.
Okay, while he's doing that, now that I've finished trying to do first aid, I'm just going to be lightly tapping her and trying to rouse her. Hey, Kara, come on, get up. Come on, wake up, Kara.
Okay. So you're able to open the door. You do notice the door is warm. Warmer than you recall. The whole room is kind of cold. It's underground. It's all metals and concretes. The door has, it's not hot, but it's warm to the touch.
So when I closed and latched it, it was cool steel, and now it's warm.
Warmer. It's more like, ambient temperature of a nice sunny room.
Okay. Geez, Professor, that thing just... and then I'm going to look down and see her. Oh, my God, is she all right?
I don't know. She fell out. Whatever it was hit her in the face, and when it left, she looked at me and then just keeled over. I tried to do what I could, but I don't know if she's got a concussion or what. I'm just trying to apply pressure to this, and I'm going to lift up enough so that he can see the bleeding wound and then immediately put it back down.
Okay. Yeah, you see a decent-sized head gash, nothing that you probably haven't had just in your line of work that doesn't need stitches. It needs a bit of those butterfly tapes to kind of hold it together and some pressure, and she'll be fine. But you are at his point. You don't know if she has a concussion or kind of any internal bleeding signs yet.
Where did it go?
Well, first it went into everybody out there. I don't know why it went past me, but they're all dead or melted or died. I don't know. But then
Why did it skip me and you?
I don't know. I mean, I felt it go by. You know, as it came out under the door, I was kneeling right there. I can't explain it, but felt like it was trying to get in me. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
But it didn't. And then the lab techs, they had no idea it was coming. They were turned looking at instruments and flasks and whatever, and this thing just assaulted them. It just seeped into their ears and their eyes and their mouth and their nose, and they don't have any eyes left. It's just like melted them from the inside. I don't know, but then it came out of them and just coalesced again into this vaguely cylindrical shape, and then shot up the elevator shaft.
Okay.
Whatever that is, we just let it loose on the world.
Well, we need to follow it because we need to get Kara some help, and we need to try to fix whatever we just did. So I'll carry her, and let's get out of here.
All right, let's try this real quick. I'm gonna rip off a strip of cloth from a lab coat or something, and take my handkerchief and where he's applying pressure, put that on her and wrap it around her head.
So being that you are the self-appointed head of security, you did a very good casing of the room originally. You do know that there is a first aid kit on the wall of the lab.
Then I'm gonna run and go grab that, come out with gauze, butterfly bandages or whatever. Could I make a first aid check
You
with that?
certainly can.
And does using the kit give me any...
Yeah, take it with a bonus dice. We'll say that it has some decent instructions on stuff. And then, Kara, I'll be coming back to you in just a moment once he finishes making his first aid.
So that was a success, 20 versus a 36.
Yeah, so you feel like you're able to get a good job. Professor Bernard helps hold the gauze down and get it secured. And you're able to dress the wound in a way very similar to what you've ever had, dressed in any kind of injury you've had. So you feel very confident that at least her external injuries are well taken care of. She should suffer no ill effects except for maybe some wooziness. You're still not sure of internal. So before you guys move on to what you're going to do, Kara, so you're passed out. And for a moment it's non-existent. It's not even a blackness, like when you're nearly asleep. It's just you're not there. But then you start to have these kind of wispy dreams, almost. And they're very incorporeal. They kind of fade in and out, and they warp in weird ways, and they begin to trail off in little wisps of smoke. But you see blades of papyrus grasses swaying in the wind, a flash of blue fabric, a very bright flash of light off of something gold. Dark raven hair whipping in the wind. And then you feel something kind of moving you as Professor Bernard tries to scoop you up. And you begin to kind of groggily, very dizzy, come to. Professor Bernard, as you begin to pick her up, you see her eyes flutter. And her eyes kind of take a moment to focus on the room, but she is awake. And you two may take the floor.
I'm going to attempt to help her up. I'm going to stop trying to pick you up and try to put a hand out and try to steady you if you try to come up.
I take it and haul myself up.
Yeah, you're uneasy on your feet,
Little.
but yeah. With the good amount of support from your two gentlemen friends, you're able to stand on your own 2 feet, but you do feel very lightheaded and top-heavy at the same time.
So just on a mechanical level, a successful first aid gives back 1 hit point. However, in reading through that, it also says first aid can only be attempted once on a person. John's character attempted it and failed, so I don't think I could.
So, how about this? We'll say that her wound is cared for, but she did not regain the hit point.
Fair.
Because, in my opinion, the hit point was not from that wound. The wound was flavor.
Nice.
Nice. Okay. So, continue.
Whatever we let out, it went through the door, and went into all of the lab techs and then left. We need to try to get out of here. Are you okay to travel?
As soon as she hears this, she's gonna run out the door and like see the whole massacre, but she is still gonna go to the first person she sees and like check for vitals, even though like deep down she knows there is none.
Okay. Nate, make me a dexterity check.
That's a hard success, 17 under 40.
So Kara, at being told that her lab techs have been either injured or killed, bolts from Bernard's hands. And you, being in the doorway, are able to reach out right before she nearly falls out again. Still unsteady on her feet, really underestimating how dizzy she is. The minute she took that first step, that knee buckles. But you're able to catch her and see her intention.
Kara, they're gone. But if it'll make you feel better, I'll go look at the bodies. But just stand here and regain your composure. Get your feet back underneath you. Bernard, hey, if we're going to go and try to stop this thing, will we need that urn to put it back into? I don't know how that works, but anyway, and then I'm going to go over. I'm going to approach one of the bodies that potentially is still alive.
Okay.
If there are any.
You begin to walk through kind of the rows of desks and workshops, and you see most of the bodies are very past gone. There is one up towards the front that seems. It's hard for you to tell. They happen to be like laying on their side. So you approach, and as you approach and you kind of roll them back over, you get that very potent smell of burning flesh. It's beginning to fill the room, but being so close, you can smell it. Make me either like a medicine or a spot hidden if you want to examine these bodies a little closer.
I'll do spot hidden.
Okay.
That's a success.
Okay. So like I said, you've seen that there are no longer eyes in the socket. There is burning flesh inside the eyes, the ears, the nose, the mouth. What you do see that strikes you odd, and it's a moment where you wish you hadn't looked, but you knew you kind of needed to. You take a little closer look into the eye sockets, and you can see these strange cylindrical markings inside the burns. Very reminiscent to maybe the bottom of a snake. But as far as you can tell, everyone in this room is dead.
I'm going to pull out my corporate issue cell phone, and I'm going to take a picture first, far enough away to get all of the head. I'm going into detective mode now, right? I've got to capture evidence, right? And then like specifically zeroing in on the eye sockets, the ears or whatever. And then the last one I take, I'm going to zoom in and try to get a picture that captures what I'm seeing within the eye sockets.
Okay. Yeah, you're more than able to do that. Kara, what are you doing? You've got your footing back. It's been a minute or two. You're feeling a little more stable. You did take a moment to brace yourself, but you feel like you could walk now.
Okay. Is there like any sort of like alarm system down here?
There is, by the elevator, there's a comm system. You also know that to the one side of the decontamination room, there is an emergency protocol button. But you do know that emergency protocol button alerts not only the people within this building, but at every major headquarters that there has been some sort of contamination outbreak. You were trained very thoroughly on these OSHA standards.
Mm-hmm. Now I'm torn because she would want to warn whoever's upstairs, but not upstairs, you know? So
Uncle's gonna be so mad.
yeah. So She's gonna go over to the comm system next to the elevator and go, "Hey, how are you guys doing up there?" Like, clearly something is wrong, but just checking in.
Okay. So you page over, "Hey, what's going on up there?" And you let off the button to no response. You know, having spent enough time in this lab, that someone is always posted at that comm. It's the whole purpose of that comm is to operate that elevator. And Jeffrey, who's usually sitting at that desk at this time of day on a Thursday or whatever day of the week it is, always answers. Usually with a, "How you doing, hot stuff?" Like he's always making a pass. And nothing. Silence.
Is there a way to operate the elevator down here? Like, okay. Just want to
Yes.
make sure we still had a way up.
So it's limited access, but you do have access.
Okay.
I want to go back over to the what we decided was an otoscope
Sure, yeah.
that was laying on the ground. I'm wondering, was as I was using it to look in there, was it recording? Right, and is there a potential that I can get a, electronic file of what was seen through it?
So it's got a standard issue like SD card slot that you can extract the SD card from and load it into a computer. So you do have video footage of whatever you caught on the scope.
Okay, so I'm gonna pop that out real quick, toss it into my pocket.
Okay. Bernard, what you doing?
Is there anything in here that looks like it was used to transport the vase?
No, the only thing in this room is the table and the vase.
Have I seen anything in elsewheres of the lab that So I'm going to go find Kara and say, "Kara, do we need to package up the vase and take it with us and try to possibly put whatever was in it back in, or should we leave it here?"
I say let's take it. And is there like any box?
You tell me, it's your lab.
Okay. I'm gonna say off to the side with all of the like lab equipment where I got the sample stuff.
Mhm.
There's also like padded briefcases and boxes and whatnot. And I'm gonna take a box big enough and I'm just going to like hurriedly, like, not really thinking about it, like anything soft that I can see, like lab coats that are on chairs type thing, and just stuff the box and then go and put the urn in it and close it up.
So you're able to make a makeshift transportation box.
When she touches the urn, does anything happen?
No.
Didn't even think about that.
At this point,
At this point.
But Bernard, make me a spot hidden.
99.
You notice that Kara is very pretty.
hey, we gotta stop that thing, right? Can you call that elevator back down? How are we gonna get out of here?
It's okay. I'll call it back down. Just, I don't know what we're going to expect up there, if it's still there or if it's gone even further. So, this is possibly the last time we'll be down here. If there's anything else we want to research before we go back up.
It's weird having brains in the group, isn't it?
Thinking about things.
Wow. There was some more research you wanted to do, wasn't there? Like you said, we wish we'd researched more before opening it. I remember hearing you mumble that to yourself.
I wanted to find out what Nafram thought this thing was, but really, like, it's out running loose. Do we have time for all? That might give us a clue on how to stop it. So, do you know how we could find out what Nafram thought it was?
Do we have any files on my computer?
Yeah, certainly.
Well,
You
then
have
let's head
NAFRM
over.
files. There are a lot of the digitized files that the boys were able to find in the library, and along with any more local specific files. So if you'd like to access those files, you can do that. If you're looking for something specific, or are you just looking for things that might jump out at you?
Can I look up the case report of when we took it from Nafrin?
You certainly can. So smart. So you see in the case report that they had received an anonymous tip from within NAFRM Corp. They have people planted inside NAFRM. They're lower level. They're not able to make it too high up into the hierarchy, but that there was some kind of big movement of personnel to Cairo. So Statham Corp responded in kind with its own personnel movement and found that NAFRM had broken open a crypt and was searching this crypt for something. Statham, intercepted. There was a lot of life lost over this particular artifact, but that they were able to recover this urn from within this crypt. The personnel who recovered it are not trained in many things when it comes to like archaeology and history, so they are unsure of the crypt and a few of the other details of it. They had some basic descriptions of decorated walls, things like that, but that they knew to transport the crypt or the urn to the local laboratory for observation and for seclusion for 2 weeks as per protocol. That the urn, they're not sure what the gentleman who was able to give them the tip did not have any information as to what they wanted the urn for. He didn't even know what it was they were after. He just saw a large movement of personnel being relocated to Cairo, and it was kind of happenstance that they ended up becoming in possession of this urn.
Okay. Do we know the location of the crypt, and would I know of any other surrounding crypts and different archaeological spots
Like hotspots?
there?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So there is a location in, what are those things called? Coordinates for the crypt. You can make me some type of roll to try to figure out if you know approximately where the coordinates are. Otherwise, you're going to have to search them up to figure out if you know of any other known historical sites of interest in the area. But you could just search it. It's not a huge deal. Just if you wanted to use a skill, just to use it.
Roll a history just in case.
Yeah.
Navigate, natural world.
Any of those.
I think we're gonna use history if I can find it on this page.
It's alphabetical.
It's not
Except
all
when it's
alphabetical.
not.
Except for when it's not.
It goes handgun, rifle, shotgun, and then first aid, and then history.
What'd you get?
That is hard success.
So you know that this is located out into the desert proper.
Make sure you check that.
You know that as far as you're aware of, there are no known historical sites in that area. This is proper desert. We're talking dunes, miles of sand, no known structures. It's not even well-traversed area due to just being uninhabitable. It's not near a major trade route, any major roads, well off the beaten path. So as far as you're aware, there's nothing else around that area that there shouldn't be anything there.
Mm-hmm.
There's no major cities, nothing.
This was definitely not happenstance on Nafram's account either. They knew exactly where to go.
the building that we came into and then took this elevator down.
Mhm.
I'm having a hard time remembering. Was it like a structure, or is it like
It
a
is.
tent? Or
It's a structure. It's the only structure within like a tent archaeological dig site almost. They're not digging per se for anything, but it is kind of like an archaeological outpost where they're doing a lot of research on local sites and histories and things like that. So there's like a tent city almost around it of all the workers, but there is a central building that has been erected. It's a small building. It's 2 stories above ground. And then there's the lower bunker level that you're in.
So I'm going to look at the door to the containment room, and then I'm going to look down at the floor at the door jam. And then I'm going to look over at the elevator, and I'm just going to start running towards the elevator. We got to get up there now. Now. That thing, it didn't go through the door. It went under the door, which means it can't go through things. We got to get up there and lock this place down so he doesn't get out of here.
Do I know of any, like, lockdown button that is not the alert big honchos?
Unfortunately, this is not a high-end building. This is
Yeah.
built by local workers with local materials. So on the outside, it's very much meant to fit in. It's not meant to bring a lot of ostentatious attention to it.
Okay. Then I'm gonna glance over to those 2 and then start heading to the elevator and calling it. Is it still down from when we came down? Or did it go back up?
We can say it's still down. It doesn't.
Okay.
It's not particularly circumstance. Saves you 6 minutes. So, all right.
That's right. It's a long ass elevator ride. All it needs to find is just a sliver of a crack underneath the door.
I imagine by the time we get up there, it's already going to be gone if it's leaving.
Yeah.
I think you're right, but
Cara, make me a no roll. Knowledge.
You really confused me there for a second.
Yeah, that's
I was
why
like, I don't know about this.
That's the whole point of the no roll.
It's actually education.
Education, I guess, is what it was.
Thank you. Success 45 over 70.
You've spent a lot of time in that building, sleeping upstairs in the bunks. You know damn good and well that building is drafty. The doors do not seat to the ground. You are fairly confident that it is not airtight in any way.
If it's left, it's already left, guys. There is nothing stopping it from going, and us getting there 6 minutes later isn't going to do anything either.
how are we
So
going to
I
find this
say-
thing? Are we just going to follow a trail of hollowed out skulls suffered from the red mist? Oh, jeez.
So, the myth was that Ra would fight it at night so that the sun would come back up, right?
So Ra would, above the horizon before the sun came up, would fight Apep-Nar every morning. When he won his battle with Apep-Nar, then the sun could rise, because Apep-Nar and Ra could not exist both in the mortal plane. And Apep-Nar was always trying to get to the mortal plane, and so Ra would fight him back above the horizon. Which, in Egyptian culture, the above the horizon is leading into the underworld.
Did you
Above
find
the
out?
horizon or below the horizon?
Both. Basically, wherever the sun is not, to them, when the sun is gone, it is because Ra is making his travels through the underworld. When he comes back, he's finished his travels, and he makes his travels through the day, through the mortal realm.
Gotcha.
Did you find out why Naphram wanted this?
We don't know why. We essentially noticed a large group of them, and we went in and infiltrated and found it by happenstance.
Do you have possibly like a way into their systems? Does any of your people know how to get in, or?
You know that you got that there is someone on the inside, but that information is confidential even for you. You don't know, because they have put their life in grave danger.
Yeah.
And so you're not even sure your uncle knows that this person's handler is well under wraps. And that has been your only successful infiltration into NAFRM Corp security. And it took multiple tries. You do know that.
Do I have a special little hacker friend that I can call in? Or is
In the
this
chair,
guy?
sure.
Yeah.
You can certainly try.
Then I'm gonna take out my satellite phone and I'm gonna try and call him.
What's his name?
Can I? Alex.
Alex. Tell me a bit about Alex, since I have to roleplay Alex.
Alex is pretty much one of those chronically online guys. So he doesn't get a lot of like social interaction except for this and like any other jobs that he takes. Professional hacker, gray hat, like he'll just take what he likes. He doesn't swing one way or the other. And we've been friends for a while, and he is my go-to guy whenever I need to do something under the radar type thing.
Okay. So you're going to call him up? Okay. So you call Alex, and the phone picks up, and you're, hey, what's the hap, Kara the Explorer? And you hear lots of clicking in the background. My main lady.
Alex, truly don't have time for this. I need you to get...
No, shit, use your AoE attack, you stupid... No, damn it. Oh, I'm sorry. You have my full attention now because they just blew this game. What?
I love Alex already.
Me too. Alex, I need you to get into NAFRM systems as soon as you can and find out about a recent job they did 2 weeks ago out at these coordinates and see anything that you can grab on them. I'll take...
Princess, I know that you got all the money in the universe, but you and I both know damn good and well that we have been trying for years to get into those systems. What makes you think that in the lick of an afternoon I'm just going to figure it out?
Can you find me any sort of movement? The nearest town, did they see any movement? It doesn't have to be NAFRM, it could be anything around it.
I'll see what I can do, but, like, you're not out there, connected to, the World Wide Web in a whole lot of ways, so I'll see what I can do. I'll check local airports and then a few other things, but it's going to take me some time. I mean, you're asking me to basically dig through the library without a codex. So, give me a couple hours, I'll ring you back. Hey, do you... I know you don't like it when I ask you, but can I borrow $20? Because I really need to pay my car note this month, and I spent all my money on Fortnite Gold.
It's called V-Bucks.
V-Bucks. See, I didn't know that because I don't play Fortnite.
Alex, you grab me something and I'll send you $100.
Done. You hear a click.
Not only do I love Alex, I love the dynamic between Alex and Kara.
Yeah. And you know that Alex does his best and he usually pulls through for you. He rarely ever disappoints you, but it's not always what you want. It's just he'll have something, but...
Mm-hmm. I definitely asked for the impossible way too many times,
and more often than not, he delivers on the impossible, but you're skeptical
That's
of
why
this
I
time.
keep asking. Oh, yeah. Okay. We'll see what we can get. It's going to take him some time. It's not as speedy as TV makes it sound like. Anything else you want to research on this computer before we head up?
Not that I can think of. Possibly, do you have maps?
I sure do, and I'm going to go pull up any maps we have of the surrounding area.
Yeah. So like I said, you can see that it's out there in the dunes and that there's a road that runs near being several hundred kilometers, but it's the closest road, so you could take by car to that point, but you would need other method of transportation past that point. But being that you spend a lot of time in this area, you know that not too far up the road that there is a settlement where you could procure camels, should you so choose.
We're going on a camel ride.
We're going humping, y'all.
Oh my god.
Okay.
All right, well, let's head up the elevator then.
All right.
On the way up the elevator, even though we're dealing with a red misty thing, I'm pulling out my handgun. I'm checking over it. I'm injecting the clip. I'm looking at it. I'm putting it back in, making sure one's in the chamber.
It's like the
Because if I ever get a chance to
the
fire a
video
shot
game
off,
cutscene where they're just like fiddling with their gun. Gotcha.
And right before I step on, I'm gonna grab like one of the emergency flashlights that we have
Certainly.
and put it on my belt, and then I'm gonna start loading up my gun too.
Okay. Anything you want to do?
Just get on the elevator.
Okay. So the elevator begins to ascend.
got any elevator music?
No. This is an old style elevator with like the grates that close.
Yeah.
All of you make me a spot hidden, please.
92 that time.
Bernard's eyes are closed. He's scared of elevators.
I got a success.
Okay.
Regular success.
I also got a success.
Okay. Kara and Nate, you notice that as you're, Kara, you're the one who operates like, the mechanism to move it. Nate, you're the one who shuts the grates. You both notice that these are almost uncomfortably warm to the touch. Not quite there, but higher than your natural body temperature.
And warmer than the steel door.
A little bit warmer than the steel door.
You can feel that? This shouldn't be hot. I mean, we're down here
Kara,
hundreds
it's
of feet
brisk,
below.
usually.
Ambient temperature of the ground down here would be about like 70 degrees. This metal, it's up around 80, 90, maybe higher. That's warm. I noticed it on the other door. I think this thing, I don't know, it leaves heat behind it. Well, you guys were talking about that snake myth. Was he like, I can't remember, fiery snake?
Kara and Bernard, you both remember that the myths state that wherever Alpepnar traveled, he left scorched earth in his wake. And there was also on the urn, in relief, scorch marks where he had been.
Well, we might have a way of tracking this guy after all.
Maybe. Just get an infrared visor. Your company has those, right?
We will definitely find some.
I'm going to requisition that.
Yep.
That was dropped in by Chopper.
Chopper. So, after a few tense minutes of quiet but not
There's
silent.
a point where it just becomes awkward when we're all just standing there.
And the elevator is loud. A lot of clanking and kind of noises. But you guys aren't really conversing much.
It's like we're on a roller coaster, but we're going up the big hill that's going to have the big drop.
You're anticipating that big drop on the other side. You reach the top, and Kara, you notice immediately that normally Jeffrey is right there to open the grate. He's usually very happy. It's his old job, basically, is this elevator. Nothing.
Please tell me it's spelled like Joffrey, but
It can be.
pronounced Jeffrey.
Yeah,
Yeah. Sorry. Just a vibe I needed.
that's fine. It can definitely be Joffrey, pronounced Jeffrey. And you stand with this closed elevator grate to the top side.
I am gonna go to pry it away.
Okay.
Is there like any like latch mechanism that I'm gonna have
It's
to?
a
work
small latch, but it's not, hard. You can open it from the inside. It's just you're not used to having to. It's almost like having somebody who constantly opens doors for you and then they don't.
Yeah.
When you go to do the little latch to open the grate and go out, this grate is nearing burning. It doesn't hurt you, but it's definitely that moment where you touch it and you kind of, and you can touch it, but it's hot.
Think we're getting closer, and I'm gonna like brave up a little bit and just go for it.
Okay. So you guys enter into the lower level of the 2-story building, which is normally 5 to 6 people milling about. The building itself usually only has approximately 20 people in it, like 10 to 15 below, 10 to 5 upstairs. It's not usually super overstaffed. You don't hear any movement within this building, so you're really quiet. You do, however, see feet coming out from behind Joffrey's desk. Just feet.
I'm gonna have my pistol, like, in my hand and drawn while I, like, creep around to go to the desk.
Okay. As you approach the desk, you kind of see feet, then ankles, then shins. And as you round, there lies Joffrey. And you didn't take time really to look at the lab techs before. So what you see is that Joffrey's face is contorted into this sort of half scream. His eyeballs are completely gone. The hair around his ears, his mustache, his beard is singed. There's still bits of, it's almost like charred ash in his mouth, where his tongue is shriveled up and the insides of his jaw is just caked with burnt flesh. And it is incredibly startling. So make me a sanity check, because this is someone you know well. Even
Hard
if he is
success.
Yeah. You apparently didn't like Joffrey as much as you pretended to.
You ever hear a description, you go, yep, a sanity check is coming?
Yeah, all the time. Only when I don't forget to ask for them. Yeah, so you're able to kind of detach yourself because you already had, I think, on the way up, known it's not like Jeffrey to not be at his post. And you had seen what happened to, you knew what happened to the lab techs. You had a fairly good inclination that that was where you were headed. So you weren't super surprised. But it is still grotesque to see. And behind his desk leads to like a hallway that, leads up to the upstairs. And you can see like one arm flopped out of an office. You can see scorch marks along walls and along railings. There's even probably a few little embers of wooden railing that's still mildly aglow.
Is there a clear path of this scorchness that I can follow? Or is it just sort of everywhere?
So you're going to have to make me like a track roll for that. Because this is not, walking on muddy earth. This is something entirely different.
Hard success, 10 over 20.
Check that.
Check that shit. So, it looks as though, as best as you can tell, that we came out the elevator. It looks like it almost split off into 3 sections. Mm-hmm. You can see one section that basically funneled down the hallway into the rooms, up the stairwell. You can see one part that seemed to have swirled about in this main area and the downstairs, in and out of different rooms and closets and things like that. And then as you turn, you can see that the last, kind of big blast of scorch that you're seeing on the floors and the walls seems to be leading out the front door. Even though the door's not open, but it seems to, and you can see around the door a lot of scorch marks. A lot of soot and dust and little bits of embers that are still kind of glowing and falling. The ceiling has kind of like that, you burn incense too close to a ceiling and you get that smoky hue from the smoke ash is kind of leading, and it gets very thick and dense right at the doorway leading out.
Okay, we have 3 ways to go. 2 ways are still in this building and 1 leads out. I don't know how much we're going to find in this building other than dead bodies. But we could check them out if you guys want to.
Wait a minute, you're telling me there's 3 of these things now?
There are 3 trails that lead off. And they don't track back. It looks like it is branched out from this point.
Well, if 2 of them are still in the building, then we got to at least try to neutralize them.
Then let's go. Let's see. I have a feeling maybe it just regrouped and seeped out of an open window or whatnot, but you're right. Better safe than sorry, so let's go.
I don't really like this idea, but in the interest of time, should we split up and one person...
Yes.
Oh, yeah, totally. No.
Split the party.
So, one went up the stairs. One looks like it's like going down through offices and whatnot here on the lower level, and one looks like it went out.
Correct. But you personally have seen, you are the only person who has seen the modus operandi of this thing, of the way it branches out, kind of feels about, and then kind of coalesces back in. So you can see her point of that it may have spread out to search, it kind of coalesced and
Yeah, so when she says that all the time, yeah, it did that downstairs. Like it split up and went after all, what was it, a dozen of those lab techs down there? And then when it was done with them, it pulled itself all back together and shot up the elevator shaft. So, yeah, I think you're right. It's probably pulled itself back together and has gone out, but we got to at least look, right? We got to at least go upstairs and see.
So are we splitting up, or are we going to go as a group?
I'll take the upstairs. You two check the downstairs.
Okay.
Okay. So in the interest of time, we're going to kind of
montage.
Yes. So I want you each to make me one spot hidden roll.
I just have a feeling I did so well on that track roll that
which was lucky.
Hidden. It was.
Hard success.
Extreme success.
Hannah, what'd you get?
Regular success.
Perfect. All right. So you guys are able to kind of split off and go, and you all kind of find a lot of the same things. You find a lot of dead bodies slumped over desks, half in and out of doorways, sludged up against a wall, all with the same kind of scorched burn marks. Kara, you are able to kind of look through, and you're noticing that while there is some scorched damage around different areas, like around door frames and things like that, it doesn't seem to be like taking up like the whole room, because you're seeing a lot of like the paperwork on desks seems mostly untouched, except for maybe some smoke damage, but it's not like on fire. And you're getting the opinion that as it kind of fits through these openings, that it's kind of funneling and creating a lot of excess heat, and it's kind of scorching wood and anything that can burn around it. Nate, you go upstairs and you find a lot more of the bodies, and having already seen it once, you start kind of looking at the bodies a little more carefully. You see a lot more of these kind of cylindrical markings inside the eyes and a couple in the ears of what looks like the underbelly of a snake. Kind of these like V patterns kind of all throughout. You do find what is essentially kind of like a path that you can kind of see it taking, and it's not so much by the scorch marks, but you're seeing kind of like the most dying embers to the most active embers, and you can kind of through just time frame kind of know, and you can kind of tell that it looks like it kind of swept the upstairs and then kind of went back downstairs, because you find like a corner of one of the posts that's very still going. Bernard, you're able to see all of that as well. The scorch marks inside the eyes with like the snake belly under hues. But you also notice that in passing, you and Kara just kind of looking through rooms, you notice that around Kara's ears and her eyelids, there's like tiny little blister marks. Not super severe, they're just little, like red, almost like sunburns. Her eyelashes are kind of singed in places. And at one point you even see one of her ears kind of have a small trickle of blood. Very tiny, nothing to be worried about, but just like looks like some kind of blister popped inside of her ear. And Car, you do feel a little twinge of pain, but you're not feeling great anyway, so the different aches and pains are all just kind of compiling at this point. You may even notice the little trickle of blood, but it's short, doesn't last very long, it's not super prolific. But you do see to notice some indications that Kara is suffering from some different burn marks around the orifices of her cranial cavity. Okay.
I'm going back downstairs. It was up there, but it looks like it's come back down. I think you're right. It's probably globulated.
Mm-hmm.
All
It
right.
seems to know exactly where people are, so if we don't see this outside, I think it's just going to go to the next biggest populace of people.
You're probably right.
Or maybe it's trying to get back to where it came from.
Did you find out where it came from?
Yes, I have the corn. I'm sorry.
Space cadet.
She went from being so smart.
It's the concussion I have.
Right. Perfect. Role play. Inspiration.
Yes, I have the coordinates of where it was intercepted at. So we can also try there.
Where it was intercepted at or where it came from?
Where it came from, it's
Okay.
the same spot they went to the crypt and got it from. Right?
Yes.
Well, that might give us a little more context as to, like, drawings around it, art. We might be able to find something out from being there anyway, so maybe we should go check that out. I'm kind of torn between doing that and trying to figure out where the big group of people might be that it might be seeking out to burn through or whatever it's doing, but I think the information we could glean from there might be good, and it may have gone back where it came from, so
I agree. From an investigative standpoint, there may be clues there, and if we don't know where else to go, let's go where we know it's been. It might give us some information.
Mm-hmm.
So you guys are going to head outside? Maybe get to your, let's say you have a Jeep of some kind? Yeah?
Yep.
Okay.
I'm sure it's a $100,000 Land Rover, but
Probably.
Oh, yeah.
But it's seen better days. She's not kind to it. So you head outside, and Kara, all of you really, but Kara, you notice this very strikingly, but you all noticed this, that when you came in, there was a lot of hustle and bustle. Several hundred workers that work in this area.
all the tents around here.
It's quiet. But,
We're already up to a body count of like
But-
25.
Kara, you do notice off in the distance by kind of like the entryway to this camp that there seems to be a large mass of people clamoring at trucks and buses and vans and any number of vehicles peeling out.
It looks like it might still be here. Are we in the Jeep yet?
No, you're on the front steps.
We got to get up there.
Yes.
let's hot-footed to the Jeep.
So you guys can hop in the Jeep. It's right out front.
It's a Land Rover.
The Land Rover. And pull up to
The
where...
G-Wagon.
The G-Wagon. The commotion is going on. You guys hop out of the truck. Kara, one of the... They're like security, but they kind of like just make sure everything runs right, and if there's problems, they deal with them, kind of. But they are effectively security. One of the higher-ranking security people comes up to you. Oh, Miss Kara, we do not know what happened. The red smoke come out like fire, but there was no fire. But everybody panic and everybody's leaving, and now the workers no work. And he starts rambling, and you know he's not great under pressure. You've seen him, go through it, but like he's really ramped up. But you can see people are carrying just the basic stuff they could get in, and they're getting into vans, and they are hauling ass.
It's okay. I need you all to leave. Help evacuate anyone you can. And don't go to the next biggest city. Go one past it. That's where I need you to go.
But Miss Kara, the work, we must finish work. Your uncle, he paid for these people.
I'm going to grab the
I
guy
will
by
see.
his shirt collar.
Oh,
And look, Gambit, you do what she tells you. But first, which way did it go? You saw the red cloud. Which way did it go? I'd like to use intimidate.
roll it.
Hard success.
He is wide-eyed. He's a lanky, scrawny man. Probably is more in this position because he's like nice, not because he's like effective. And he just very shakingly raised his hand. Towards the Nile, sir. Towards the Nile. That direction into the sky. It go fast, and then it is gone. We into the clouds. I no see, but that direction. Miss Kara, I am so sorry to interrupt. I trying to take care of people. Well, and
You're doing great. Thank you for the information. Now go. Okay?
I'll let go of
Get
his
to
shirt,
safety.
kind of smooth out the wrinkles on it, pat him on the chest. Turn around.
Yes, Miss Cara, Mr. Strong Man. And he will turn around and start, like, he picks up a voice he's not used to. Okay, everyone in trucks now! Everyone, you heard him now! And he starts yelling at everybody kind of starts hustling because he is not about having, getting picked up again. He's not about it. He's like, y'all want these people out? Fuck it, they're out. It's the most effective he's been in weeks.
So he said it was going towards the Nile. Do I know what direction the coordinates were from my previous check?
The opposite direction.
Roundabout? The Ooh. Okay,
But you also know that the Nile is massive.
Mm-hmm.
And that the direction of the Nile is the whole side of, like, the country. It's not super precise.
I do. What side of the Nile are we on? The west or the east?
The west.
Okay.
There you go. I don't know. I'm not good with directional points. I don't know.
So,
I believe Cairo is...
I believe you're right, but
Most of Cairo is on the west side. but
if
I
you're
could be
looking at a
wrong.
map, I think it's
Feel
on.
free to correct me in comments. In this world of our imagination,
We moved the whole fucking Nile.
it's probably easier to move the city, but okay.
Go ahead.
If it's going east, it could be going towards the sunrise, where everything happens.
He did say it went into the clouds.
Which I know. What time of day is it right now?
Right
Like,
now, it's between travel time you spend downstairs, it's probably 6, 7 o'clock in the evening. It's beginning to cool off.
Is it still light outside?
A
Has
little
the
bit.
sun set, or is it still...
It's beginning to.
So
'Cause it's
maybe
about
they
April.
can both exist in the material plane, because there's the sun and there with the snake.
Mm-hmm.
Unless I missed something.
God damn it.
Sorry. Couldn't help it myself.
Okay.
We're gonna start heading in the direction that he said. Is there any like scorch marks on the earth that we can see?
From his description, it looks like it came out the door, may have made a small bit of searching around the camp, and then flew upwards into the sky to the point that they could no longer follow it with their eyes. But as best as he can relate, in the direction of the Nile.
And it went a complete opposite direction of where we were about to go. So we have a very rough decision.
I'd say
But it doesn't... Sorry, go ahead.
you go ahead.
It doesn't seem to be on a murderous rampage anymore.
Which is nice.
So, which is very nice. So if we want to go check out the crypt that it came from, I think we would be okay. And then maybe we could figure out where the hell it's going, because... What's that look, Emily?
I'm thinking... Nate, what's your intelligence? Education, whatever it is.
Wow. I feel a little
There's
attacked. It's average.
Okay. Make me a roll against one of them.
I'll do it against education.
Okay.
Because I'm a little more educated than I am smart, which is true of a lot of people. That's a failure.
Okay.
And since I don't know why I made it, I have no reason to give you a push for it. So
You take a moment, you're trying to assess, you've followed perps before, and you're trying to assess whether it's better to go where you know it's been or try to hunt it where you're not entirely sure where it's going.
follow a trail that has already gone cold, if you can say that about this thing.
Or a troll that doesn't exist yet.
Mm-hmm.
And you're at the tip of an idea. It doesn't quite form, but something about the fact that it did not harm anybody out here, but killed everybody in the building. Something about it's just not, you're not sure what, but there's something there.
Could I make a law roll to see what my investigator instincts would tell me? Go to the house I knew it was at, or
Yeah,
blindly
certainly.
try to...
investigator as in your job, not as in like...
Right, yeah, my
Okay,
job
I thought you meant like as a
police detective.
investigator. Yeah,
Right.
no, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm coming up blank.
Yeah.
So
I'd say the information we would get from the crypt would be useful even if it's not going to be there.
I agree. There's no way of telling. This guy saw it going to, but it went up in the air. It could be anywhere.
And we don't have a plane.
We've got nothing. There's no way to track it now because we can't find scorches or dead bodies or whatever. So until it makes itself known and we could go there, going to where it's been is probably our best bet.
As much as it pains me to say, I agree. If we went chasing off after it, we wouldn't know where we were going. So I say we also go back to the crypt.
Okay. So you guys take a few minutes to gather your stuff from upstairs, to gather any supplies that you may think you need.
I'm looking for jerry cans of gas from other vehicles that we can strap to the Land Rover.
Certainly.
Or make sure we've got plenty of fuel, that kind of stuff.
Kara gives you some good pointers on clothing choices that would be better suited for where you're going. Linens, light fabrics, things like that. You can choose to take that advice or not. It's your choice. I'm not going to punish you for it. Just
I like to think that, as we geared up, being told we were going to Cairo. Did we know we were going to Cairo? Or, yeah. But yes, I will definitely dress in a suitable fashion. I'll leave my wool suit back at the camp.
okay. You guys spend some time getting yourselves together, and unless you guys have any other pressing issues to deal with here, we can go ahead and hop skip over to where you guys can either get off the road to hoof it to the coordinates, or slightly up the road to camels. No? Okay. So, are you guys going to be heading to the closest place you can get to the coordinates, and either trying to walk or trying to drive your...
So you said it was about 100 kilometers from the road to the site, which quick math says it's about 60 miles. I think we're going to need camels.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you guys are going to head to the camel depot you know of?
Camel Depot.
Okay. So you guys drive, and it takes you a while. You end up getting there pretty late in the evening. It's pushing 9, 10 o'clock before you guys reach this kind of outpost. It's part of like a trade route. Car, you've got a couple people in there that know your face. They don't know you too well, but you've come through there. You're able to secure camels for you and your companions, as well as a like a pack camel that can carry supplies. You're able to pick up extra containers of water, some food rations, some basic, survival stuff. There is the option to set out now during the night, or to take lodging in this town and go in the morning.
My vote's now.
I am more than good to go now.
Seems like getting as many miles behind us without the sun beating down on us would be a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
So I am going to take some liberties with travel time because I do not know the average walking pace of camels. Unfortunately, I apologize. Did not look that up. But
Pretty sure they can go like 60 miles in a couple hours.
so we're going to say that you guys are able to travel through the night. It gets colder than you anticipate without the sun. There's some warmth coming from the sand having baked all day, but it gets breezy, it gets cold. You're able to reach the approximate coordinates by the time sun starts rising. Takes you a good 4 to 6 hours to make this trip. And you were able to come up to it's almost like a rocky outcropping in the dunes where there's some rock formations that have been exposed through the movement of wind over the dunes. And you can see the remnants. Bernard and Kara, you're able to pick out the telltale signs of dig sites that have been abandoned, but the flags, the little rope, things, and the occasional discarded basket and things of that nature. And it's pretty easy to ascertain the kind of opening to this crypt that you're looking for.
Okay. Then I'm going to find like one of those like abandoned poles to like tie our camels up to. That's close enough to the entry, and then
Yeah, so smart.
I was going to come back out from underground and the camels are gone because I never would have thought of tying up the camel.
Okay.
I put mine in park. It shouldn't go
It
anywhere.
shouldn't go anywhere. I put the parking brake on. All right. So you've secured your camels. You even found like a nice place to leave your supplies, like almost like a makeshift camp. They're not necessarily like tents, but you have, like a lean-to kind of thing that you can get to. And you may take the floor. Do as you wish.
Well, this looks like you guys' territory. I'll stay here at the entrance and provide security. But what I know from crypts.
Okay. Let's go in.
Okay. So you guys are able to light a torch or a lantern of some kind, or use your flashlights, however you choose to do it. If you want to be aesthetic, you can use the torch. Cara and Bernard, make me either history, archaeology, or one of you can make it with a bonus die. It's your choice. You can either both do it or one with a bonus.
I'll let her do it with a bonus.
Okay. Which one do I want to do?
Am I boring you?
No, I'm sorry.
It's okay. I yawn all the time, too. It's just sitting here for so long, I begin to yawn. There's nothing I can do about it.
Push the roll. Oh, can you push the roll when you use it? You can push the roll.
Mm-hmm. What'd you get?
I got a 92, and then the bonus die was an 8. So
An 82.
Yeah.
What's it against?
the 71.
So you could use 11 points to do it, or you can push the roll. Push the roll is you're really only, it's time to ascertain information about this crypt before I give you information. Because there's going to be stuff I'm going to give you either way. It's just how much.
I think I'm going to push it.
Okay. So you can spend, between the two of you, more time really dissecting the hieroglyphs and the type of paints used and try to get more information. So you may push the roll. If you fail, it's going to take you a couple more hours to do this.
Extreme success, 10.
Beautiful. So between the two of you, you start, you notice this here, and oh yeah, that's very common in this era, and blah, blah, blah. And you can see that this dates back to about 4000 BCE, excuse me. About the same time as the urn does. Cara, you notice that this is set up in a very simplistic manner. It's a door, a hallway, and then like a large chamber. It's much less ornate than you would expect. You usually find a lot of antechambers and all these accessible rooms, and it seems to be very much one shot. You also know, given the location, that the likelihood of finding this without it having been like unearthed by just natural wind occurrence would have been highly unlikely. Mm-hmm. Usually these ruins are found because they're close to other ruins, or they're in more solid earth, or in this case it probably was, happenstanced upon through the winds of time. Mr. Bernard, you take on the task of looking through quite a large wall mural with a lot of hieroglyphs and pictographs and things like that. And it begins to tell the story of this group of priestesses that served Bastet, the goddess Bastet, a cat goddess. She's a daughter of Ra, who is well known in Egyptian mythology for having fought and turmoiled with Apep-nar as well. She's not as prolific as Ra, obviously, but she has some history in that fashion. And it talks about these priestesses were sworn to Bastet and then had some sort of mythical power to them that allowed them to protect the world from Apep and his servants and his acolytes. And there's kind of these polar factions. And it tells the story of that one day the sun did not rise, and that Apep Nar was able to leach into the mortal world and began to rain fire and terror upon the rivers of Egypt and the peoples, and that the priestesses devised some sort of way to contain him. And through the use of blessings of Basset and, their own magic, they were able to contain him. And at the very center of this large thing, you see a very well rendered depiction of the urn that you guys are carrying. And this scrawling hieroglyphic story around it kind of shows, in a very lyrical, very well-written sense, this large battle between them and how they had to lure him and capture him and weaken him and all these things, and they prevailed, and that, this was the final resting place of Apep Nar to keep him safe and contained, so that he should never plague the mortal world again. Kara, you see that in the main chamber, that there is a few nicks and knacks around, some different ceremonial pieces, usually to ward off, spirits, to ward off those who would do evil, things like that, very statuesque type stuff. But there is one podium in the middle that is bare.
So I am going to relay as much of the story to her as I'm able to fathom out, putting particular emphasis on the fact that apparently somebody has already found a way to encapsulate him into the urn, and we possibly could figure out how they did it and try to redo it for ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Does it say how?
I'm going to gesture up there, and it doesn't really give us concrete instructions,
It's not like the
but
wiki how.
they did it, so there's obviously a way.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably all written in. I'm just guessing here. It's probably all written in the book that used to be on that empty podium there.
Wait, you're in now?
I'm standing at the door looking in at you guys.
That's not a bad idea.
Wherever the box with the urn is at, I'm gonna just unbox it and slowly pull it out and place it on the podium, like Indiana Jones style.
It's a great fit. It sits nicely on it.
There's so much for my book idea. Geez, I'll just watch for it back, guys.
Did when you were looking up stuff on this site, did they mention a book by any chance?
No. You might want to ask the priestesses. You hear come from behind you, Nate. Out in the dunes.
I'm drawing my gun and turning around fast.
You turn around to see a raven-haired woman in a white linen cloak. It's sheer. You should be able to see through it, but there's these strands of gold woven in that kind of reflect the sunlight in almost an ethereal way. So while you can see, that she's wearing some kind of blue dress underneath, these strands of gold almost redirect your eyes and keep you from being able to focus on her for too much. As she steps out of the direct sunlight kind of into the overcast of the entryway, she pulls down a head covering and she's like, "And lucky for you, I know where to find them."
Are we sure the dress is white and gold and not maybe blue and black?
Wait,
Don't
so
ruin
you're out
my
here now?
climax moment.
I'm just going to go over my shoulder. You guys might want to get out here. What's your name? How did you get here?
Well, those are two separate questions. My name is Shafira, and I came by camel, of course.
Is that S-H or C-H?
S-H. A-F-I-R-A. Shafira.
I am going to walk up to the scene and
Yeah, this
go-
lady said something about priestesses of Jacqueline Bisset or something like that.
And I'm gonna glance back and like, isn't that kind of what you were talking about?
Yeah.
She begins to kind of walk past you. She keeps eye contact with you. It's almost like, I
My
understand.
gun was not intimidating to her
Well,
at all.
it's more of she acknowledges that you have the power in the situation, but she acknowledges also that she's pretty sure you're going to let her pass.
Yeah, and I probably am. I put my gun away.
She walks down the hallway and puts a delicate hand along the wall. So much history in these walls. I was sure no one would ever read it again, but here we stand. Due to the stupidity of men, no offense. She looks at the two of you. And then she looks at you, Kara. She's like, but where there are women, there's always a solution, isn't there?
Mm-hmm. Now, these priestesses...
I wasn't offended till that last part.
Are you one of them?
I am one of the few surviving priestesses of Basset. Me and my heritage, my family, my children, my mother, are the last vestiges of a long and ancient tradition, and someone, somewhere, has managed to, and she gives a very pointed look at the three of you, release Apep. Now, we are going to have to fix that. So if you're done sacrificing or being in a tomb you should not be in, I would happily take you back to our temple where I can give you some more information on the priestesses and what our next steps are going to have to be.
All right, let's go.
Let's do it.
Wonderful. Oh, you're going to want that urn. You take a camel ride through most of the day. About 4 o'clock in the evening. It's very quiet. You may pose questions to her, but she gives you much the all in due time. It will all become clear when we arrive. It's best not to talk with the sand. That kind of thing. Kind of brushing you off, giving you the just wait till we get there, kids. Like, it's fine. You crest over a dune, and as you reach the top, you realize that you're kind of in this circular-shaped dune, that at the basin, hidden from sight from any way around, is a large oasis with this structure built around the oasis, almost walling it in, that consists of 5 rotundas and these walled courtyards between the rotundas. And even from this distance, these rotundas are magnificent. You can see glints of gold coming off of filigree and these vibrant blues and oranges and reds, and it's very ornate. Even though it is aged, it's exquisite. And inside is this lush green patch of oasis with a small watering hole, but this massive temple, kind of just constructed in this dune. And you can see as you look down that there's kind of these like sand barricades almost built into the dune to keep sand from kind of rushing down in these kind of like step formations, but all of it is mist from the outside. If you were to look on the horizon at this exact spot, it would just appear as continuation of sand, no brick.
So as we're coming up, and probably on the journey here as well, I'm going to try and sneakily take photo with my phone on the way here of her and trying to get face in there as well. And then as we crest the dune, looking down into this basin, trying to snap some photos of the structure in the oasis.
Okay. Are you trying to do this without her noticing?
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to need to make a sleight of hand.
Sleight of hand or still?
Yeah, I'd take either.
I'm going stealth.
Okay.
That's an absolute failure.
You forget to turn the sound off, and it makes the audible shutter click.
So I'd like to push the roll by coughing right after that
Okay.
happens, like it was going to cover it.
Yeah, like trying to drop a book before you fart. You just gotta time it right. Okay.
You want to give me a hand on the consequences, or do you want me to just deal with it?
The consequences is that you also make a weird sounding cough that draws everybody in the party's attention to you, and not just the ones who may have heard the shutter click.
Yeah, so the first roll was an 89, and the second roll was an 85. Both of against a target of 20.
Yeah, so you forget to turn off the sound, and you take the picture, and it does the ching, and then you go
Got sand in my throat.
and everybody kind of turns around and looks at you with your phone just like red-handed. And
And then so I'm going to go. Like I was taking a selfie.
the woman, Shafira, she's got like a face draping to protect her from the sand, but you can see a glint of amusement as she turns back to face front. You learn your lesson the second time around when you try to take a picture of the rotunda and it goes off without a hitch. You're able to take the picture without anybody noticing, but you already kind of just feel kind of sheepish about it.
Everybody knows what I did.
Yeah.
But I do, as I close, put the phone back in my pocket, I am flicking a little switch on the side for the
the mute.
sound.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
So you take
Sand.
yeah, it's rough. You take a kind of less steep slope through the dune down into this basin and approach this very beautiful temple. And as you approach it closer, you're able to see that the walls on the outside are, covered in these depictions made with like tile and cement and alabaster of, like papyrus grasses and reeds and the Nile and all these beautiful, decorations, not hieroglyphics, but just ornamentation of the outside on these large rotundas. And she opens these large gilded doors that creak and moan through age into a beautiful rotunda of rich burgundies and browns and oranges, and it's absolutely stunning. The tile floor is polished to perfection with this blue lotus pattern in the floor inlaid. And she turns to you and she's like, "Welcome to the Temple of Basset," and begins to walk you through this rotunda into the oasis courtyard. Now, it is a small oasis. It's not sprawling. It seems to be very localized to this area. And as she's walking, this used to be a very bustling hub of priestesses, but over the years and thousands of years, well, you begin to lose membership. You see two little girls scurry through the oasis, and they're wearing these beautiful blue dresses as Shafira takes off her overcoat, and you can see she's wearing this beautiful blue dress with this like gold collar around her neck that the dress is affixed to. Off to one side in a shady spot, you see an older woman in like a blue shawl who seems to be writing something on a piece of parchment. Very elderly, probably in her 90s, near 100. And Shafira turns to you. She said, "So, who opened the urn?"
I think it was technically me? Or was it?
I believe it was you with me assisting.
And what were you doing?
I was watching
He likes to watch.
on the other side of a door, like from underneath the door with the little scope thing.
Interesting. Well,
And
It's-
keeping the door closed so we could contain stuff.
yeah, I unfortunately can tell that did not work. So, tell me, what questions do you have? Let's start there.
How do we fix it?
Well, That's going to be the tough part. There's a very intricate ritual that has to be taken place to not only lure Apepnar here, but to contain him, weaken him, and then reseal him in the urn. And I don't know that I have the priestesses enough to do so. I'm going to have to find out if we can. Hannah, make me a power roll.
It's a failure.
Okay. Just hold tight on that for me, please.
Okay.
So we're going to have to figure out a way to complete the ritual with less than the required amount of priestesses. But we might have a shot.
Well, I have two questions. What can we help?
Oh, you're going to have to.
And I mean, for the priestess role, I mean, maybe, quick online ordination website or something. And the other is, where is this Peppernar?
Apepnar?
Yes.
Apepnar is probably finding some place to hide out. He's much more powerful at night and in the dark. In sunlight, he is considerably less. So, that's at least our advantage. We get lots of natural sunlight here in the daytime. As far as priestesses, no, unfortunately, we can't do just a mass, bringing in of acolytes. It's a longer process than that. But I think maybe with some modifications to the ritual, we might be able to use you to help, since you were there and you have, obviously, she kind of gestures towards Kara, obviously been touched by Apetnar, so we'll have to work on that, but I'm sure, you're not feeling any ill effects, right?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
I might have a concussion, but
well,
I'm doing good.
A concussion every now and again is probably all right. But yes, we will. We'll go to the archive here in a little while, and we'll look into the ritual and see if there's something we can't do to maybe modify it. Honestly, I've been raised as a priestess my entire life, but I've never actually had to do anything. So it's going to be as much a learning experience for me as it will be for you. But let's hope.
How do we lure this thing here?
Well, I believe in the books it said something about a scepter. I believe that would be in our artifacts room, which we'll also check that out. There was a scepter, there was the urn, and then I believe it requires a priestess touched by Basset to actually contain him, which is the tricky part. But we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Any questions about the priestesses at Pepnar or anything that I could answer for you? I'm quite well versed in the subject.
Do you have any idea how it was picking people? Because it skipped me and Nate.
Well, Apepnar was known for kind of pressing his influence against your person, and if you were to be susceptible to his powers, then he could enter into your mind and enter into your body. He seems to have a flair for, or a taste for those who are susceptible to him. So in the mythos, in the lore, it says that he had sway over people who spent too much time near him, and those people were often the first he killed.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's said that his presence had some delirious effects on the mind.
So maybe all those workers that had been around the urn for 2 weeks were more susceptible than we are, who had been there for all of 20 minutes.
And they called us in because people were having the queasy feeling from being around it.
That sounds pretty on par with what we know of Apepnar.
Well, what do we need to get started?
Well, I think first order business is going to be getting you guys settled, and then we will head to the archive and see what we can drum up. Yes? Mm-hmm. So she will kind of guide you through. There's a kitchen area in one of the rotundas. There is a let me get to my map here. There is a rotunda that is purely for like living quarters, so it has some different rooms built into it that have some beds and some basic, living areas, and she shows you 2 areas that you can have to yourself. She does have boys stay in one room, Cara, you have another room, and offers you, water, some meager, food, not a huge meal, but some food. And then you continue down to the next rotunda, which is their library. It's quite extensive. And she begins kind of pulling books curated to this particular problem. And a lot of them are books you've never seen of, either of you. These are one-of-a-kinds. These are archival documents of this priesthood, this priestesshood, that aren't in mass production. They're not in anything. Some of these books you're seeing on the shelves, you've heard about referenced in other areas, and it's fascinating to see intact copies. It's glorious. Scrolls piled up into large containers for you to look at, and the urge to reach out and pluck a scroll or a book is formidable, but you can tell it's probably not your place. She begins to kind of look through all of these books and things like that. Cara, since being here, you've kind of had this unsettling anxiety. Mm-hmm. It's not like you're scared. It's just you feel kind of out of place. Something is not quite right. Not scary, just like not quite right. Mm-hmm. And as you are in the library, you're kind of making your rounds with your hands tucked behind your back, trying not to touch things, and kind of looking around as she begins to, collect these books to go through. And you kind of reach the far side of this rotunda that leads into the next walkway, and you feel this intense curiosity to go down to the next rotunda.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna glance at everyone else, make sure they're still like preoccupied with what they're doing, and then I'm gonna start heading down.
Yeah, so you turn around and she's got her back to you pulling books. The boys are trying to keep themselves busy and help carry things for her, and you're able to slip out without raising any sort of suspicion. And you walk down this walkway into the next rotunda, and the next rotunda is decorated much differently. It's got much more gold on the walls, so much that the outside light is reflecting into the rotunda and lighting it on its own, because so much gold is filling this room that is reflecting, it's bouncing back and forth, and it's almost like daylight in this room. Mm-hmm. And you see that along the outside wall leading out towards the dune side, not towards the oasis side, that there is a large room that takes up about a fourth of this circle, this rotunda, with a large filigree door. And you almost feel this like intense heartbeat pulse. You want to open that door so badly. So very badly.
She's going to try to resist for a second, and glance down the hallway, see that no one's coming, and her hand is slowly going to reach for that door to go and turn it open.
Yeah. So you kind of do a double take, and it's quiet. Nobody's around. And you reach out for the door. And that's where we're going to take our leave for the night.
You're dead.
Oh, yeah.
Well, thank you all for joining us. But this has been the next episode of Under the Surface. I have been your keeper, Emily, joined by Steve and John and Hannah. And we will see you guys next time for the next episode.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
A pharaoh, an Egyptologist, and a proctologist walk into a bar. And nothing I could come up with would be as funny as what you're thinking right now, so you just made the joke.